Death, taxes, and a new COD. One of the last few big yearly release series, and apparently MW2 is going to be the last yearly released COD, and the next Black Ops game won't come out until 2024. Except now Activision has confirmed a new COD entry for 2023, so what is even happening anymore? It's believed this could be a major expansion for MW2, which would probably make the most sense since MW2 is going to be the main COD game for the next 2 years, presumably. Honestly though, I was thrilled to hear COD won't be doing yearly releases anymore. Not because I hate the series or anything, I'm just starting to get really burnt out of it, and I think the extra time to polish the next game and maybe refresh the formula a little bit could be really nice. But either way, I actually ended up enjoying Modern Warfare 2 a lot more than I thought I would. After Vanguard last year, I had pretty much convinced myself that I was done with COD for a while, and that I wouldn't play the next one, but then like a couple weeks before this game came out, all my friends told me they were getting it, so I figured, why not? And I'm actually quite glad I did. This is the most enjoyable COD for me, personally, in the last couple of years. I liked Modern Warfare 2019 as well, but I think this game is already far better, to be honest. There was still a lot broken with MW 2019, especially on launch. There have been quite a lot of issues on launch already for Modern Warfare 2, most of it on the technical side with crashes and glitches, but that's so common for COD, and compared to MW 2019, it's not nearly as severe. Again, another reason why I think it's a good thing to give these games longer development cycles, so there's not so many issues on launch. But first things first, I want to get into my favorite part of Modern Warfare 2 as someone who largely prefers single-player games, the campaign. I usually always enjoy the campaigns for these games. Vanguard's wasn't the best, but I still had a good deal of fun with it. You can always rely on COD campaigns to deliver the most ridiculous, over-the-top action and set pieces, and I feel MW2 balances that with also a lot of slower and slightly more realistic sections or missions. This, in my opinion, is easily one of the best COD campaigns in at least the last 5 years, maybe even the last decade since like the original MW2 or the Black Ops games. Now usually what tends to take me out of the campaigns is the repetitive mission structures. You know, there's lots of shoot 'em up sections against waves and waves of enemy AI. It can get boring and stale really quick, but MW2's campaign, while it still has a few of those sections, has some of the best unique missions and variety I've played in a Call of Duty campaign. There's plenty of stealth sections, which are always my favorite, all taking place in different scenarios and environments. Plenty of similar missions to Clean House from MW 2019 that was very popular among the community, and even when there are those more repetitive shoot 'em up sections, they're spiced up with a unique environment or little twist, like shooting from a helicopter and hijacking cars, or on a moving ship in which all the shipping containers are sliding left and right. Even the mission in Amsterdam where you have to blend in on the city streets. I feel this campaign does a much better job than most at alleviating some of that repetition that's so common for COD campaigns. There's just a lot of creativity, and my favorite mission in the game, Alone, takes a page out of the survival horror playbook, which we've certainly never seen in COD before, where you have no weapons and you have to explore and scavenge around for materials to craft different tools and improvised weapons. You get a little headlamp, and there's lots of these narrow, dark corridors, alleys, and buildings. It almost felt like I was playing Resident Evil there for a little bit, and I thought the animations for crafting and the knife takedowns looked great. It felt very immersive and is certainly up there with some of my favorite campaign missions in the whole series. Another thing I noticed with the campaign was it felt significantly more challenging than usual. The AI generally kills you a lot faster, which I like. It feels more realistic that way and forces you to be more engaged in the game and be a little bit more tactical rather than just rushing enemies and absorbing tons of gunfire. The armored enemies also makes things a lot more challenging. I know some people are mixed on the armored enemies because it feels like a kind of cheap way to increase the difficulty with these super tanky enemies, but I personally really liked it. Again, it just makes for a more challenging experience in which I actively need to pay attention instead of just setting my brain on autopilot and gunning down waves of AI. And to tie it all together, you have a story that brings all the nostalgia for those who played the original MW2, to, and a pretty engaging story to be invested in with characters like Price, Gaz, General Shepard, Soap, and of course Ghost. However, this game and MW 2019 are set in a new timeline, so there's no real correlation with the original MW series story, except for the characters. Still, all the characters feel authentic to their original portrayals, even with new voice actors for most. Particularly, I loved the Soap and Ghost back and forth banter.
Ghost,
Soap,
guess what I found?
more stopping power.
Check.
Your life expectancy just went way up.
The cutscenes also just look purely outstanding. There were so many times where I had to do a double take because it was so hard to tell if what I was watching might have been live action. It's just so impressive. Overall, this is easily the best COD campaign for me in years. I know some people like to play COD only for the campaign, and if you're one of those people, I definitely recommend it. I'd advise that you wait for a cheap sale, of course, though, as a 6 to 7 hour campaign isn't worth the $70 price tag in my opinion. Now, I'm by no means an expert when it comes to multiplayer, but I have played pretty much every COD from the last decade, so I do have my own personal opinions of what I like in multiplayer. And while there's certainly plenty of issues like with every COD on launch, I also enjoyed the multiplayer quite a lot. Pacing is very important in these games to me. MW 2019 felt very slow paced, the games were a lot slower, and the game sort of encouraged a camping playstyle, while Vanguard was ridiculously fast paced, and for a lot of people it was too much. I feel for the most part MW2 strikes a really nice balance. I mean, sure, you're always gonna have people who play like rats and camp, that's just the nature of the game, but generally the pacing felt just right for me. Not too slow and not crazy fast either. This game has a pretty fast time to kill, which I prefer, and it has many of the standard modes we've grown accustomed to over the years. My favorites were Hardpoint and Headquarters. Those are the two modes that I felt really forced players to play a little more aggressively, with one constantly changing objective. I still enjoy the occasional search and destroy game as well, which I had a lot of fun with on this game, and there's some unique knockout and even third-person modes as well. Third person, while not new to the series, is still uncommon, and I thought it was fine. It felt a little janky to me, and I didn't find much of a point to the mode itself, but it's there for those who are interested in it and want something a little different from the usual multiplayer experience. Modern Warfare 2 also made a lot of changes to the progression systems, which is a bit controversial. To unlock weapons and weapon attachments, it's all now connected through weapon leveling rather than overall rank, so to unlock a certain weapon, you'll have to get another weapon to a certain level first. Not really sure how I feel about that change. I suppose it forces you to use more weapons that you usually wouldn't, but it is kind of annoying to have to use different weapons, some of which are very bad, just to unlock the one you want. The camo progression has also been completely streamlined and simplified, which I think is a great change. There's still a grind if you want to get the better camos and mastery camo, but now the challenges aren't, you know, stupid. Most of them are like getting double kills, getting 3 kills without dying, stuff like that. Whereas in most games, the challenges would force you to do something really weird that makes you change your playstyle drastically. This way, the progression feels so much more natural, and the camo grind is nowhere near as big a headache. I also really like the changes to the perk system. Rather than just selecting 2 perks, now you have perk packages with different tiers that you activate as you play a game and accumulate score. This way, perks are more intertwined with skill and how you're playing in the game, rather than just starting the game with Ghost or something. You actually have to earn it in game. Well, you start with 2 base perks, and once you're high enough level, you can create your own custom perk packages. Another change I'm fond of is the removal of slide canceling and bunny hopping. I know some players were upset about this because they liked advanced movement and that sort of freedom it brought, but I think it makes the experience much better for more casual players and helps even the playing field. The gunsmith should be quite familiar if you played MW 2019, where you can have up to 5 attachments on each weapon with a plethora of options to choose from. A new addition is weapon tuning, which was actually bugged and taken out of the game for a few days, but it's back now and allows you to tune some of the attachments on your gun once you reach max level to alter different stats like ADS speed or damage range, etc. And like always with each COD, the game has some maps I like, some not so much, and some in the middle. middle. In my personal case for MW2, I really don't like the border crossing and Tarak maps, and I like the embassy and hotel maps. Again, that's just personal opinion. I'm sure that'll differ for mostly everyone, but I feel the embassy and hotel are probably the best designed maps. Now, unfortunately, I've had a few technical issues since MW2 came out. There was this whole problem with the new Nvidia driver, so not really sure if that was the game's fault, but it was causing all sorts of lighting bugs, FPS drops, and crashes to the point where it wouldn't even let me play the campaign at all, so I had to uninstall it and revert to the old driver, and then everything was fine. I've had this weird bug when queuing with friends where the matchmaking will just be stuck on connecting indefinitely. It wasn't all the time, but a pretty common issue. Aside from those things though, the game feels well optimized on PC, and the graphics of course look pretty great even on low settings. So, should you buy Modern Warfare 2? Well, really it all depends. Personally, if you're interested in this game, I'd recommend waiting for a sale. $70 for COD is quite a bit, especially if you're a little burnt out of the formula. But then again, I'll leave it up to you if the game is worth $70. And there's also a $100 Vault Edition. Campaign-only players should definitely wait, but overall for a COD, I quite enjoyed this one. Again, the campaign is one of my favorites of the last few years, and the multiplayer had a lot of nice changes for the most part. There's still issues and still times where I felt a little fatigued from the COD formula as a whole, but if you really like COD or want to try this game out, I recommend it. Again, personally, I think it's better to wait for a sale, but of course that's up to you. If you've played Modern Warfare 2 already, let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments, or if this video was helpful in your decision to check out the game. I'd appreciate it if you considered leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you're new. I now have channel memberships as well. If you wish to join for special perks and all that, the link is in the description. And other than that, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Oh yeah,
Your kids ain't bad.
All right.